This episode of Sports Addict Live brought to you by, as always, First Round Collectibles. With over 40 years experience, First Round Collectibles offers the widest variety of quality Beckett-graded sports cards anywhere. Representing 10 major sports, First Round has all your favorite players from all your favorite teams at great prices. We are proud of our knowledgeable staff and top-rated customer service, and our reviews vouch for our integrity. Visit us today at firstroundcollectibles.com and find your heroes. That's the number one, STRoundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And welcome to Sports Addict Live. Mark Sauter with you. It's been a minute. It's been a minute through technical difficulties and sickness and blah, 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 blah. But I'm back. And more importantly, Tom Brown is back. Now, Tom, before I let you introduce yourself, I owe you a massive apology in front of my 10 people who watch me over the course of a month. You came on the podcast last week. We spoke for 2 hours and I wasted your time because for many reasons it never got posted. So I apologize. You know I love you, and welcome back to the show.
Thanks very much, Mark. I appreciate it. Very happy to be back. I look at that, more as an opportunity. I'm just going to go ahead and reference all of the predictions that I made last week on the Lost Take. And you guys are going to be amazed at some of the stuff that I predicted that time, and I know you'll back me up.
If people could have listened to that, they would have won millions. They would have won millions.
Now, one question I do have quickly.
Yep.
I know you've been cheating on us a little bit, putting your takes out there elsewhere. Where is it that we can find that?
Yes, well, thank you for reminding me. How could I forget? That is true. I have joined the team. They reached out to me a few weeks ago, and I have joined the team at Fantasy Sports Heroics, talking about the NHL. Fantasy Sports Heroics, they have live shows all day, every day. They have a general sports morning show. They talk the NBA daily, the NHL daily. They talk about football, both college and the NFL weekly. Lots of stuff in the works that they have yet to release, wrestling, and a lot more fantasy stuff and stuff like that. Wrestling, you will never find me on. I'll just put that out there right now. But super excited about that. I've been doing that for about 2 weeks. Stoked to be able to talk about the NHL and get my hot takes out there. Excellent people over there at FS Heroics on the old why am I mind blanking? X. So yes, thank you for bringing that up. Super excited about it. It's been a pretty well, let's just dive right into the football today.
It's American Turkey Day. Dak is full. He ate. And yeah, everything's good.
So it's funny you bring that up. I wasn't going to go there first, but we might as well touch on it. First of all, happy Thanksgiving to all the American listeners. My father's from California. I should really celebrate this holiday as well. I do not. But happy Thanksgiving to all you guys down there. I have tons of family down there serving in the military as well. So, happy Thanksgiving to everybody in the old US of A. We're just really grateful for the football. That's all, really. But I'm glad that you brought that up. So I, as a Philly fan, people tend to think that I just hate on the Cowboys because I'm a Philly fan. Now, I can't with 100% certainty say that that is 100% untrue. I have to just, you call it what it is. However, I felt that the wins that the Cowboys have had are just like defense basically dominating bad teams. And okay, like Dak looks good, but like who cares, because they could have won that game or whatever game without even scoring double digits. Now obviously tonight Washington scored 10, but you get my point. And where this
The
is
the Cowboys the Cowboys lost to the Eagles in a very close game.
that
Uh, that was a shade over a month
that
ago.
they should have won.
Then they had a bye week,
Yeah,
and then they followed that up with three consecutive bye weeks. They beat the
right.
Tommy DeVito New
Oh
York
my gosh.
Football
My point.
Giants. They beat the Carolina saddest situation I've seen in some time, Panthers.
Yeah,
And
that
then today, whatever Washington, I mean, they ended the riverboat run. They sunk the riverboat.
what
Uh, and
I will.
that's where we're at.
Yeah, but my point is that the reason why, besides the fact that I'm a Philly fan, is that the reason why I get like hard on them is because as a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, we bring this to the NHL for a sec. The Toronto Maple Leafs do the exact same thing in the playoffs every single year, right? During the regular
Right.
season, they're contenders. They're amazing. They're amazing. They're amazing. They hit some rough patches here and there, but they're amazing. And they lose in the first round every year. Then last year, they win the first round and lose the second round in 5 games, and it wasn't even competitive. So as a Leaf fan, I look at the Cowboys and it's hard for me to get excited about anything the Cowboys do because I know what's coming. Now, that being said, for whatever reason, today might be the most that I was impressed with Dak all season. Like I felt like that game was 20-10 going to the fourth quarter. And I felt that they had to work for every yard. I know that the Washington, they, traded their two best defensive players, and that defense isn't what it was. But I thought that this game was maybe Dak's best game this season, at least for my eyes. I don't know. What did you see? Because
I
I
saw.
thought they fought for every yard today. I thought they looked great.
I thought they looked fantastic today. I think. I mean, there's two things, right? Yes, the playoff, the monkey on their back for the playoffs is real, and it is still a show me situation. I do like, and I'm gonna throw some positive positive interpretation of Mike McCarthy here. I do like the way that he's managed the team over this 3 week or 4 week extended bye. Uh, at no point did they push themselves. This is not going to be a situation. You remember Brandon Staley coaching the Los Angeles Chargers last year, right? In
Yeah.
games that don't matter, overexerting things and then losing players for games that will later matter, right? He didn't do any of that. They played a very composed, they played a very calm. They didn't put anything on tape that they don't want anybody to see on tape. They didn't put anybody in harm's way. The Van Der Esch injury, I mean, his neck was a time bomb anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that they approached this. The most impressive win to me was not this one. This was, I think they looked the best in this game. The most impressive win to me was Carolina on Sunday. That was the all-time. We talk about trap games. That was the all-time most trap game of trap games. They had just beaten the week before utterly hopeless division rival. They're probably historically at least their biggest rival.
Sure.
Them are the Eagles. They go play against the team that has the worst record in the league, and then they know that they're coming to a short week to play on Thanksgiving, which is a big deal against another bad team and a division rival. So, I mean, that had trap game written all over it. I would not have expected them to lose, but had I bet on that, I might have expected Carolina, who were coming off a win, to maybe cover. I was expecting the Cowboys possibly to take their foot off the gas a little bit. They didn't. They looked completely composed. They looked very mature in a way that Mike McCarthy coach teams typically look kind of jittery at all times in some
Sure.
ways, and they didn't. They were fine. That was impressive to me because that's a game the Leafs lose or go to overtime and maybe lose in a shootout. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't follow hockey well enough, but that's the kind of game that in the past that the Cowboys might have lost. It's a game in some ways that the Cowboys lost to the Commanders, or pardon me, to the Cardinals earlier this season. A similar sort of a situation, the trap game. Some coaches, some coaches aren't really suited to the trap game. Some teams just aren't. The Cowboys typically haven't been, and they kept the pedal to the metal in that game. I thought that was not. I'm not impressed that they beat Carolina. I'm impressed in the fashion in which they beat Carolina.
I
It
guess
was
the
pretty
only
perfunctory.
Yeah, I guess the only thing that I would argue against, and I'm not arguing like last week, Dak looked great as well. The only thing I would argue is that, and I'm not even trying to be funny, I just think this is legit. Like, I feel about the Panthers game last week the same way I feel about uh the Dolphins Jets game tomorrow for the Black Friday game is like, even if it was a trap game, I don't think Carolina could win that game, even if
No,
like just by sheer volume. Like the Dolphins, I think are gonna have trouble tomorrow. And that spread is high. I think right now it's 9.5. It was 10. Um, and so I think with the defense that the Jets have, the Dolphins haven't looked that great the last few weeks.
no, they haven't.
Jets can cover, but by cover, I'm talking about like a 14 to like what 14-6 game. Like I I feel that same way. Like the Jets, like it doesn't matter how good their defense is, they're not scoring double-digit points, right? And that's kind of how I feel about the Panthers. However, your point is absolutely noted, and I guess the point for me for like starting off with this is just that like have refused to be impressed by Dak this year because like don't care, don't care. Like the way that they lose games against good teams stops me from caring about anything he does until he does that. However,
Yeah,
watching the game today, I couldn't help but just be like, man, this guy looks good. And what I really liked about this game too, and I'll just pull up the stats that I found earlier. What I liked about this game is you have
I think it was. I mean, five. What was it? Four touchdowns to four different
touchdowns.
receivers. They had 10 different
I,
receivers caught passes.
that was what impressed me.
Everybody's eating,
Like you
and
have
it did not look. There was no gimmicks, no gadgets, no nothing. It,
no
it was just the ball was getting out on time to everywhere it needed to go.
Pollard.
Now, I mean, the Commanders' defense. Uh, Rest in peace, Riverboat Ron. But the
I
the
heard,
the
was it the
point
Bill
is,
Simmons podcast that called him Robo Run? I thought that was
oh no, oh
hilarious.
no,
I thought that was so
I
funny.
didn't hear that. That's
Yeah,
that's great.
I think it was
Oh
the
Lord.
Sunday recap and guess the lines on the Bill Simmons podcast. That was so funny. But I mean, Pollard 24 yards, Cook 72, Lamb only 53, Tolbert 49, Ferguson 35, Turpin 34, Brooks 24, right? Like, and then there's still three more guys that I'm not even going to mention. Like That's what I found to be really impressive today. And not only that, but Pollard and Lamb both scored a touchdown, which helped me win money today. So, I mean, listen, hate the
Thank you,
Cowboys,
Jerry Jones.
but how mad can I get?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was a very fun win. Deron Bland sets the new record for pick
Is it
sixes
five
in a
straight or
season.
six straight now?
It's five now
Not
in the
straight,
season.
but
He's still got 6 games left. Uh,
unbelievable. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
it is unbelievable because he was the slot corner coming into the season until Diggs' injury, right? So
Right.
it is incredible. It's incredible, and also very fun to watch.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah,
And
I mean,
like to
we'll see
put
how it goes.
yeah, like to put a
Their
bow.
bye week is very over now. I think they have Seattle next, and then they really run the gauntlet. Then they have Seattle will be coming off a loss, which is
Yeah,
just about finished happening. I think, or
then
might
they
be
have
done
the
now.
Eagles again in a few weeks,
Then
but
they have
then
the Eagles after
on
that, and then they've got to go to
Dallas.
the AFC East. They've got Buffalo left. They've got Miami. They still have I believe it's a road game with Detroit at the end of the season that might very well be meaningful. We'll see.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, we'll find out.
I guess
Exciting
like
though.
put a
Their bye month is definitely over.
100%, and to put a bow on this game, I guess why I'm impressed with it so much is because it was 20-10 going into the fourth quarter, right? Like like these games that they play against the Giants both times, against the Pan, all these, they're done by the time like your pizza gets to the house, right?
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
done. And this game was not done. And as much like we've talked about it before, man, like I actually really like Howell. And I hope that they give him a chance like to grow. This team is going to be bad for a couple of years. And I hope they keep him. I really like Howell. The guy can throw it.
He's got a little Baker Mayfield in him, but not
He
too much.
he can throw for 1,000 yards. Um, and I really like him. So 20-10. And I'm in like a pick 'em like point spread confidence points league. And like my buddy and I picked Washington to cover.
See,
Um
that's
it
interesting.
was
We now to
it
pull
was
the veil
12 and a
back a
half.
little bit, to pull the veil back a little bit for our listeners.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about doing this podcast last night before these games.
Mm-hmm.
The Commanders were getting 10.5 points, and I was planning to come on here and say I don't know how many points you would have that the Commanders would have to have for me to take them in this game.
That's funny.
I just thought that it was the breaking point for to Ron Rivera. Sadly, because I think he's a good coach and I think he's clearly respected. The team is just undermanned. I
I
don't think
think the
that he's the
respect
problem
is
there,
I
but
think the respect is waning though, bro. Like I
well,
don't know.
I think the respect is there. Just there's a point at which you can respect somebody and still not work hard for them because you need to keep your back and your knees together. Like the ship has sailed. Hey, the riverboat is out to sea. You gotta get off that thing while it's still. You got to get off that thing uninjured. And I think
Yeah.
that team got to that point. And when they traded both defensive ends, both their starting the two defensive ends who get the most snaps in their rotation uh, at the deadline on Halloween. I think the writing was on the wall there, which I don't blame any of
Sure.
them for. It's just not there, right? I think they looking at their sideline. That was a sad group of people, not a frustrated group of people, but a sad group of people. I think that's not. There's a point at which it's not on the coach. That was a
Yeah.
It was a
It
straight.
like
He got five. He and McCarthy took over respectively the same season. A
mhm.
lot of Cowboys fans dismayed at Mike McCarthy. Fair, uh, but had wanted Ron Rivera to be their head coach, which also fair. That
Yeah.
let's ignore the
That's
last
a
3 years.
fun, yeah, that's a fun conversation for another
Yeah,
day. Is what would be different if Robo Ron was on
if he was
the
better at
cow?
sleepovers at Jerry Jones's house, I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's a
Yeah,
fun one. But I mean, my point was just that, like, I thought because by the time like tip off, I think it was at 12 and a half, definitely 11 and a half, maybe 12 and a half. And I just thought that it's a divisional game. It's Thanksgiving. These games can go weird. And for Washington, I mean, listen, man, like they were covering 12 and a half till the fourth quarter, right? And
Yeah,
then and
but
then
that
the
game felt
Cowboys just
inevitable. That avalanche was
exploded
always coming down that hill. It
for
was,
sure.
yeah,
For sure.
I don't know
But
what number it would have had to been,
I'll
but
just be real with you though. I gave Dak his flowers. I gave the Cowboys their props, and I've had enough. So we're talking about something else. I'm done. I did it. You played
yeah,
great. I'm done. I can't keep pumping this
you,
team's tires. I'm done with
you can edit it out later.
yeah, I'm done with this. I'm done. I'm over. I did it. I tried my best. It's like I'm done. It's like apologizing to somebody when you know that you did nothing wrong. And eventually you're just like, you know what? No, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done. All right, moving on. First game of the day. Lions home.
Packers Lions.
Yeah, this was the game that started off a great day for me. Two separate parlays, including every game, and it all came together and hit for me. And I'm super duper grateful to Laporta for starting it off. Also on my other parlay, I had David Montgomery and yeah, I don't know if I said that right, but also Jared Goff getting over 1.5 TDs. All three of those things happened. However, the Packers were, if you look at the score of this game, it's a close game. Wrong. The
Wrong.
Packers were in control of this game from the beginning.
Yeah,
And
a
I think
defensive
that
touchdown, which you would not expect against a team that does take care of the ball very well.
absolutely,
Put it out of
absolutely.
reach early in the first quarter.
And this defense has been concerning for a while now on the Detroit side. But that Packers defense, they're talented, but that talent has not come together for a couple years now. To me, it looked more like the Lions just didn't have it than it did that the Packers defense did anything crazy. What did you see from that? Because I just thought that the Packers on offense, especially, like they were ready to go. Like Jordan Love looked absolutely great today. And I mean they were just ready to go. And for me, like Musgrave's not playing. Um Jones not playing. Dylan's banged up. Like I thought that and like that the offensive line has been in shambles all year. Like I just thought it was just too much for them. And the Lions had this one in the bag. What did you see?
Going back to their game before their bye week, when the Lions got run off the field by the Ravens,
Smith.
I have been a little bit down on where Detroit is right now. I think that loss, well, they lost to a team that was getting buzzed as a Super Bowl contender, an AFC team, and just kind of flush it.
Sure.
Then they had their bye week. Then they've not been impressive since then. They squeaked one out against the very, very Chargers, and they just haven't looked great. It's really only been a year that the Lions started last year really poorly. They came on strong in the second half of the year, and now this is the first kind of rough patch that they've had since they've been. And I think we all agree they are a legitimately good team. But this is the first rough stretch that they've had. This is the first rough stretch that Dan Campbell has had as a coach, where his fake punt today was
That was ridiculous.
that was bad. But that was not the only
Yes.
fourth quarter decision that he made that didn't work today. I still love his aggressiveness. I would take Dan Campbell any day of the week. I don't think that Detroit fans are upset with that. But coming into this game, I really thought, I think the spread when I looked at it yesterday was the Packers were getting 7.5 points. I would have taken the Pack. And that's about them. Their offense has come together quite a bit in the last few weeks. For much of the year, Christian Watson and Jordan Love were not on the same page. Watson has dealt with some injury. They haven't been on the same page, but they're getting there. In the last couple of weeks, they've made some good plays together. Uh, that chemistry seems to finally be there, and was building. Was great today. Dylan had a great game today. Oddly,
Yeah, he
because
did.
I think he's you know, but yeah, Aaron Jones hurt. It just things are simplified. I like to look at quarterback accuracy numbers and accuracy over or under expected numbers. And Jordan Loves have been trending the right direction the last several weeks, as has his average air yards per attempt. There's still he hasn't been treated with kid gloves, and he's putting it together. I think LaFleur has done a good job, or whomever is in the kid glove. He was never treated too much with kid gloves. They haven't treated him the way that, say, Jared Goff was treated in Los Angeles. He's been treated, it's kind of sink or swim. And I don't know that he was sinking, but he was treading water and having trouble with it for a bunch of the season. But he's got his head well above water now, and he's looking good. I don't know that he's ever going to be a top 10 quarterback, but I, I, I don't think they're in the market for a new quarterback now. Like, he's still young. Um, yeah, this is the kind of thing, a young team like this, especially on a short week, coming off a big win, which the Packers were. That kind of momentum especially for a young team matters a lot. I think they came into Detroit, big day for them. A lot of young players especially on their offense. They're going to show out, man. This is their first Thanksgiving game, and certainly their first Thanksgiving game as in the roles that they're on that team, in now. And Detroit's sputtering. I think Detroit will figure it out. They're extremely talented. I think they're a really good team. I think they're very well coached. But
Yeah.
yeah, they have not looked good for a month. And hopefully this kind of gets them back together. The league is this is one of those things I like to go back to. The league is way more fun when the Detroit Lions are relevant. It's so rare, but so cool. I enjoy that a lot. That imagine, if you will, not going to happen.
Well, I'll tell you.
But a Lions Browns Super Bowl, man,
Oh,
come on, give me that. Yes, I would like that.
my grandfather is nine. I think I've said this on the show
Yeah,
before.
I think it might have been on one of the lost tapes.
Yeah. My grandfather's 90. Yeah, maybe last week. But my grandfather's 91 years old. Not to be morbid, but I mean,
The time is now.
he's not gonna live to 130. And I would love to see the Lions and the Eagles meet in the conference championship so I can laugh in my 91-year-old grandfather's face. It might be the last face he sees.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. That was morbid. But anyway, I want to see them do well.
Oh, fuck.
This is what I think.
You FaceTime me when you're doing that.
I I, I will. I will. Grandpa say cheese. But
They
no,
drafted
I
Jameer
mean,
Gibbs too high, sir.
and I'll
They
say
drafted him too high.
he gave me this like plaque that's actually really nice looking, and it has like the Detroit helmet and Detroit Lions with the logo, and it's the only non Philly football item that I own, and I will hang it up in my like office or man cave or whatever when I move somewhere where I actually have one of those things.
You
Um,
can get Philadelphia Eagles stickers.
oh
Just put
yeah,
right on top of there.
no, I'm
Nobody
not
will know.
that disrespectful.
Nobody will know.
I a couple thoughts. Number one, you're talking about Jordan Love, and I think that, and this is a little bit of a like side note, but I think that fan bases like the Packers and like the Patriots do not know what it's like to be a normal, at least if you're like our age, right? Like you
Oh,
do not
the
know
Patriots are learning now.
what it's like to be a normal team, right? And so you have a guy like Jordan Love who quite frankly, the beginning of the year, he had some moments, but it's like, yo, what is this? And it's like, oh, this is what it's like to not know if your quarterback is actually good. You wouldn't know what that's like because it's been 30 years since Brett Favre started. And it's the same thing with the Pats, right? Now, obviously, the Patriots situation is way more dramatic than just Mac Jones. There's a whole bunch of nonsense going on.
Oh, but he
You
is
get my
terrible.
point, right? Is that it's like, oh, this is what it's like to have growing pains. I completely forgot what this was about. And, you know, like the guys sat behind Rodgers for 4 years and he's didn't really play much at all. He's playing now, and there's going to be growing pains. It's coming together. There's people who think this team can make it to the playoffs, and I think that if they do make it to the playoffs, it's by default. It's because
The
either
middle of the NFC is
yeah,
very soft. It's
it's because
very
like
soft.
the Saints and the Falcons are battling it out for the
The
top of the
entire South is
like,
trash.
yeah, dude. So it's like to me, it's like okay, if they make it to the playoffs, like obviously that's awesome, but like it's by default. That being said, I think their future is insanely bright. I think that the defense is so talented and so
Totally agree.
inconsistent, and that's like a problem. Then you have the Lions, where I read a tweet today that was calling the Lions frauds, and I don't
That's
agree with that.
preposterous.
Yeah, I think the Lions, they are a team that is competitive, that is not a Super Bowl contender. I know there were some people who shot their shot and said that the Lions will win the Super Bowl. I don't think anyone actually believed that. I think the Lions, that was like a hot debate the whole summer, right? Is like, is this team actually good now? And it's just because we've seen for our entire lives they're not good ever. And then, but at the same time, like this team is a very good team, and they're making noise, and they're going to win their division, and they're going to play at least one playoff game, like maybe two. Um, and I like this team. And moving forward, I think they're going to be competitive for a while. Now, can Jared
They have an extremely soft schedule the rest of the way. I mean, they burned through one of
100%,
those soft games today by losing it, but
100%,
all they play
100%.
left is the Cowboys, and everybody else that they play is, I think they just run the NFC South now.
Yeah.
It
No, I absolutely agree.
They
And
could
so,
easily wind up if a little bit of regression comes to Philly's way, which
mhm.
I would never bet on. They're what is dead
Yeah,
can never die. Somehow the Eagles are they're an
we'll get
incredible
into
winning
it.
machine.
We'll
They
get
do
into
not
it.
look
Yeah,
good. They've
yeah.
looked like crap for a lot of the games but
I
they've put
know.
up W's in all of them.
Don't worry. We'll get into it.
Um,
Won't let them talk
the
so
Lions could, if they hadn't lost today, I might even have bet on it. Could still factor into the NFC to get the coveted single bye week
yeah. I I think the only reason why I would say no to that is not even because
because
of
they're going to end up with 4 losses now.
and like the Niners won tonight, right? And I know the Niners have lost 3 games if I'm not mistaken, but the Niners play the Eagles next week. And
Yes.
so like that is a game where, and honestly, I don't even know what to think. Like on paper, that is an insanely fun game, but so was the Chiefs and the Eagles, and that was a bloodbath. Like I
That
don't
was
like that was insane. I just think that the Lions are a team that last year clicked, and this is their first full season actually being a good team.
Yeah,
And
and this is the first actual adversity that they've faced
yeah,
as a team that people are like thinking about as a good team. This is the first time they've been
100%.
treated that way,
I'm
and
just,
they'll get through it. I think they will. They're
I'm,
too talented.
I agree with you. And I'm just begging Detroit, like the owners, like just be patient with this
Yeah,
team.
chill.
Let Dan Campbell stay, let the soup simmer, if you will. Huh? And just let these players grow. The one question that I do have is Jared Goff. I know that he was good with the Rams, and I know that he is good with the Lions. How long can he be good for? I still think it's a valid question.
Yeah, the
That
word the
being said,
word good is doing a lot of work there, right? Like what is good? He's cromulent. He does not he does take today's not the best example, but he does take care of the ball. He's got quite a bit better from his LA days at making um more at putting the ball into contested areas, right?
oh yeah, quick
Making
decisions,
harder throws
quick decisions. Yep.
and not bailing out of things. He was a meme for. I mean, there's a reason they went out and got Matthew Stafford.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but Goff has been significantly better in the last year and a half than he ever was. I think in LA.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's good enough to, but he is good enough to get you there. And I don't think that I've seen much. I'll tell you. I'll say this: I've seen worse quarterbacks get on a hot streak
Of course.
and win a Super Bowl, and then uh, sign a massive, insane contract, and then eventually be the backup for the Jets for a couple of years, and then recently be signed by the Browns. I've seen worse quarterbacks have extremely long careers after winning a Super
Look,
Bowl after getting hot for 3 weeks.
yo,
That's what I've seen.
Flacco looks weird in that orange, eh?
Is he
It's
elite though?
Have you seen the picture
Yes, I
of
have.
Flacco like in like practice with that
It's
orange?
not good. It's not
The
good.
orange doesn't pop on Flacco like
No.
it does for other people. But yeah, I mean, I thought that the Lions could make it to the playoffs. This idea that they were going to win the Super Bowl, I think that that was always flawed, and to call them frauds, I think is a bit
Let's
aggressive
just
and dramatic.
take merchants, right?
But hey, give props to the Packers, man. Those guys are ready to play from kickoff. And they win 29-22, almost cover the spread that they were underdogs for. They almost covered it themselves. All right, moving on to tonight's game that just wrapped up not too long ago. San Francisco in Seattle, San Fran, 7.5 point favorites, which seemed, I know that they're on the road and I know the 12th man and blah, 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 blah.
The
Seven and
12th
a half
man. Now, speaking of frauds, speaking of
seems low.
overrated frauds, let's leave Detroit alone. The 12th man, that hasn't been a thing since Richard Sherman was still good.
I
And
feel
that's
like I'd
we're talking
fart
about a decade
comfortably
here.
there.
Yeah, there's my take merchant. There's my scalding hot take for the day.
Right.
The 12th man, bring the 12th man better bring 12 or 14 more buddies with him, because this team is, you want to talk about a team that is overhyped and over. I don't know that they're actually overhyped. I don't think anybody actually buys that they're that good. I think uh well, you know what they are? They're fine. And a healthy 49ers team is going to take a team that's fine, and they're going to do what they did here. That, I think it was 31-13, right? That 31-13 included Brock Purdy throwing a pick six. Just so that the score doesn't trick
Yeah.
anybody.
Lucky for me, their kicker Myers is on my fantasy team, so he's always good for at least 9 points. So that's good. I
Yeah,
think,
Geno Smith checking down instead of
but
instead of throwing
dude, he
interceptions.
checked down in the fourth quarter when we were getting on here, before we started recording. He threw the ball to a guy who was literally being tackled. Like
Yeah.
he was being tackled as he caught, like it wasn't like he caught the ball then got tackled. He literally already had arms around him. What I think with the Seahawks is, and I'll be honest with you, I bought into this. I put like a long shot bet on them to win the division. I wasn't convinced that they would win the division. I thought
just
San
like
Fran
the just
would.
like the odds.
the odds were great and it wasn't out of the question. I mean, listen, San Fran had a 3-game losing streak this season, right?
It
Like
could easily be so
if
much worse. San Francisco has a massive blow up potential. Seattle could still win this division. The Niners have they have a high ceiling. We see their high ceiling when they're healthy and they play well. They have an extremely high ceiling.
yep.
With their injury issues, with the age of that roster, and with just the occasional bad luck, which every team is subject to, they could easily. That's a team that could at any moment bottom out. You know, a couple of
Yeah.
you saw the 3-game losing streak. That was 2 injuries. That was just 2 injuries on offense.
Yeah. I just
That
thought,
could get so much worse.
yeah, I don't disagree. I just think on the Seahawks side of things, what we're what people are talking about, and I think that's been fading for a couple weeks now, but what people have been hoping for up until the last couple weeks is you're thinking about what the Seahawks did last year still. And you're thinking about like what Geno Smith did last year. Now, listen, I've always liked Geno Smith. I love that he had that year that he had last year. I love that he got paid. He has not been that guy this year. And also, he's
He
hurt.
wasn't that guy the second half of last year either.
No,
Uh, he
and
had he
he's
had a
hurt
he had
right
a
now.
scalding hot first 6 games, a pretty good next 4 games, and then a pretty Geno Smith last 7 games last year. And
And
uh,
he's,
and I also am glad that he got paid.
yeah, 100%. But I mean, the guy's hurt right now. That offensive line has been a like mishmash or mishmash all season. There's been like three guys hurt. It's like three different guys hurt on that O line all year.
Yeah,
Was it them that just signed Jason Peters to their practice roster?
it
Was that
was.
the
Yes.
Seahawks?
Yeah.
Right. Now, listen, I'm an Eagles fan. I love Jason Peters. The guy's 42 years old.
It's
Like,
cooked.
let's just be real. And I know it's
It's
just because
cooked.
like at the practice roster, but when you sign Jason Peters, just like the Cowboys did last year, you only sign him because you have nobody left. And
Yeah.
so, and then you have Kenneth Walker hurt tonight. I really like DK Metcalf. I really like Lockett, but I mean Metcalf is banged up. That defense has not been the Seahawks defense that we know from the Russell Wilson days. It's just not. And
No, the
so,
Legion of Boom is all retired. That's
right.
long since.
And so I just think that people are holding on to what could be because of last year, and that's been gone for a while now.
Yeah.
And that's why I think 7.5 was not enough points, or seven. Was it seven?
Yeah, I think
Seven
it
and a
was
half?
7.5 yesterday. I don't know what it got to.
I think it
Uh,
was seven by the time that the game started. It was not enough. I think
that was an that was a disrespectful line to the Niners.
the Niners were always going to win this game by a mile.
Yeah, actually, 31-13, and yeah,
And I also like
they did not play that well.
I'll throw myself into this too. Like I do believe that Kyle Shanahan is a guru. And I think that his system really, really favors quarterbacks. And it's not that I think that, like that's just a fact.
Yeah,
I think
I don't
that
think anybody's arguing against that.
no, no, I think that Brock Purdy's reputation is taking a hit. Not reputation, but it's not the reputation that he should have because, in large part, to Garoppolo, right? Is like Garoppolo was there, took him to a Super Bowl, to or no, two Super Bowls, lost them both. Um, I think two or just one, whatever.
It was
Like
just
took him
one,
from
but a couple of NFC Championship games too.
right, and they beat the Packers and blah 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 blah. I just think that now we see Garoppolo, we see what he is, and we're like, okay, yes, it's like the system. And I know that Brock Purdy didn't have like a phenomenal game today, but this kid is good. And this question of, well, if he wasn't in Kyle Shanahan's system, what would he be? Who cares?
Yeah,
He
who
is
cares?
Kyle
He
Shanahan
is, and he's
system,
excellent, and he's better than
and
Garoppolo was. And yeah, he was
100%.
Mr. Irrelevant, so everybody just move on. He's
And
a
I
good
mean, yeah,
quarterback.
dude, like, listen, you throw me back there, you're still not going to win a lot of games, but I promise you,
Well, no, you
I'll just give
need
the ball to McCaffrey, and
Josh
then,
McDaniels to be your coach. Back there, he could make you an all pro.
well, and I
Come on.
mean,
It's
listen,
not fair
man.
to ask Kyle Shanahan to do the things that Josh McDaniels says that Josh McDaniels can do.
Well, and
He's pretty good though.
I just think that the idea of, yeah, but Purdy has Shanahan, and yeah, but Purdy has McCaffrey and has Ayuk and has
Yeah, well,
Kittle.
so did Garoppolo.
Yeah, dude, it's like, yeah, of course, but that's what you do, man.
And
Like,
also, here's the other thing. In trading cap, they Shanahan has Purdy. Shanahan also has Darnold, and he had Trey Lance, and not Trey Lance. He's the sort of Canadian power forward for the Sacramento Kings. Uh, but
sort of Canadian.
from those three quarterbacks, Kyle Shanahan thought, the one of these guys that is the best is Brock Purdy. Not the guy that I traded away multiple first rounders to get just a couple of years ago.
Right.
Not the guy who I brought in as a weird question. Like I think a lot of people raised their eyebrows when they signed Sam Darnold to be a backup when they already had two quarterbacks. Not that guy,
Yeah.
but this guy, Brock Purdy. That's the guy who was the unquestioned starter. As long as his elbow was healthy, he was going to be the starter. So yeah, he has Kyle Shanahan, but Kyle Shanahan has Brock Purdy too, and that's the one. That's the guy he prefers. He could have brought in other people. There were other people. If he
100%.
did not think that Brock Purdy was among the best fits for his system, yet there are a lot of other avenues. They are not a shy team. They bring in players all the time. CMC didn't play there a year and 2 months ago, for example, right? They're not shy about the Trey Lance. They traded an enormous amount of capital to get him. That's all spent already. They have more
And I
stuff.
think that and like, sorry to cut you off, but I think that they deserve a lot of props for realizing, okay, the Trey Lance experiment is over. We're
Yeah.
not going to get what we traded away for, but we're going to get rid of him, and we're going to show Brock Purdy, because listen, man, I'm not a like beat reporter. I'm not a NFL analyst. Okay, I don't know the owner of the Jets, but I can tell you right now, why was Zach Wilson benched last week? Why? Because he was a second overall draft pick,
Yeah.
and the owner's pride and ego is through the roof, and couldn't come to this, like, just swallow his pride and say, okay, this is not working. Instead, they wasted a Super Bowl level defense and a very talented offense to keep this guy on the field who would rather hit on your mom than actually be a better quarterback.
What did the Cowboys give San Francisco
I
for?
think it was like a fourth, dude. This episode of Sports Addict Live brought to you by, as always, First Round Collectibles. With over 40 years experience, First Round Collectibles offers the widest variety of quality Beckett graded sports cards anywhere. Representing 10 major sports, First Round has all your favorite players from all your favorite teams at great prices. We are proud of our knowledgeable staff and top-rated customer service, and our reviews vouch for our integrity. Visit us today at firstroundcollectibles.com and find your heroes. That's the number one, STRoundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans. And we're back, Sports Addict Live. Mark Sutter with you, with my boy Tom Brown. So my Wi-Fi disconnected. That's what happened there. I did throw it to break, but I don't even know if it cut off after I threw to break or before. I have no idea. And I'll just, like, oh man, I want to call out this company so bad, but I'm gonna show restraint, because maybe I wouldn't even
They might sign Shohei Ohtani.
well, and I was gonna say like they could
They're
be a
not going to.
sponsor, but I don't know, man. They'd have to pay me $1 million an episode to let them be my sponsor. It's so outrageous. However, to quickly double back to what we were talking about before, and I don't remember specifically where we were, but what kind of surprises me is so for the MVP odds, and this is all on FanDuel. Jalen Hurts is plus 300, Lamar Jackson plus 460, Patrick Mahomes plus 500, Tua plus 500, Dak plus 650. Okay. If you think
Tua
that,
at plus 500 is just giving FanDuel money.
yeah, I agree with you. But if you want to say that like Brock Purdy should be above or below any of those players, I'm here uh, for the argument. My,
Above Tua, below the rest of them. He's a very good quarterback. He's in
yeah,
a very good situation. He's having a good season. And no, he's not going to win the MVP.
what
And nor will he
bothers
deserve to.
me, yeah, but what bothers me more than where he is slotted is how different the odds are between the guy before him and the guy and then him. Like Dak Prescott is the guy for Brock Purdy. Dak is plus 650. Do you know what the odds are for Brock Purdy? He's the next guy. So
Uh,
Hurts, Jackson, Mahomes, Tua, Prescott, all within 300 of each other. Do you have any idea what Brock Purdy's odds are?
it's got to be 1,000 plus, right?
Dude, plus 1400.
Yeah.
Plus 1400, where the next guy is plus 650. That's what bothers me. It's like if you want to have him after Tua, after Dak, whatever, but like, dude, more than double the odds of Dak. Come on, man. I don't know. That bothers me. But hey, who am I? Who am I? All
I'm not
right.
putting money on any of them at any of those numbers.
No, no.
Yeah.
Now I got hurt
Lamar, I think
summer.
Lamar is the one.
I got Hurts in the summer at 12-1, which I was like, wow, that seems really high. And now it's plus 300. So, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
but all right, moving on to Sunday's slate. Um, what's catching your eye this Sunday? I got a couple of things that I want to touch on, but what's catching your eye this Sunday?
Yeah, a few games that I absolutely want nothing to do with from a betting perspective. Saints Falcons.
No.
I also don't want to watch that. Bucks Colts, another game that, geez, until the last 2 weeks we've had some really good slates. This week is shaping up to be similar to last week in the sense that there are some dogs. Pats Giants. I mean, I think that's hilarious, but I want nothing to do with it being on my television. And then a
Yeah.
game that I actually care a lot about, and
That'll be the
I'm
lowest
looking
scoring
forward to
game
watching, but
of the
would
year.
not under any circumstances gamble on Jags Texans. Texans are getting 1.5 there. That should be a great game. I have no idea if it will be a great game.
I already have
Really,
Texans
really
on the
like
money
that.
line. I
Yeah,
already
I
have
wouldn't
Texans
touch
on the
that.
money line for that game. Yeah.
I
I
I
love it.
really like both of those teams. I just want can everybody win, Mark? Can't everybody win?
I just think the Jags are the Vikings of this year.
Mm, mm.
Like I just think the Vikings like were that team last year where what they
Yeah.
finished 13-4 and they never felt 13-4 and that's
Well,
how I feel about
and the
Jacksonville.
Giants too, right? Last year was weird. We had two of those,
Yeah.
but then we've got some really good stuff. Maybe first things first. One game that I wanted to talk about. Uh, well, let's get rid of Ravens Chargers first. I mean, the Ravens are going to win that game, right? It would be very Chargers of the Chargers to win that somehow, but I don't think that that's going to happen. The Ravens are still the class of the league, in my opinion, at this moment,
Sure.
despite recent issues. Yeah, the Chargers getting 3.5. I expect the Ravens to just roll them. They can't stop the run, and the Ravens can run the ball. You got
I
thoughts on that one?
honestly, dude, I have a rule that I actually disobeyed last week and it burned me. Um, I don't bet on Chargers games, man. And I'll probably disobey myself again this week because it's the Ravens. So I feel like it's a pretty good
If that line's
reason.
still only 3.5, yeah. I mean, oh, it's at the Chargers. So I mean,
Doesn't matter, man.
that
It's gonna
famous
be
Los Angeles home field
oh
advantage.
yeah,
Oh
65%
my God.
Baltimore fans. Dude. I just think I just so this is my thought.
65% empty
The
seats.
Chargers have done with Staley what the Jets have done with Wilson.
Yeah.
Like Staley should have been gone the minute that game was over against Jacksonville in the playoffs last year. Staley and like listen, I know that you have, like you're a big you love to talk about how uh Kellen Moore is like, overrated and all that stuff. And that's fine. We can go down that road.
Don't need
But
to. They're not good enough.
either way, the offense has just looked disjointed. I know that Williams, I believe, is hurt. I know
I think for
that
the season.
running and
Yeah.
Eckler has been in and out, in and out. I just that uh defense should be way better than the most expensive defense in the league, if not the most. They're up there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like Justin Herbert is this like wonder boy that everyone wants to put in the top five quarterback
And
in the
he's not. When has he
and
done it?
he's
He's
not. He's just
very.
not.
That's your takes on the Cowboys and show me when it matters. Do something when it matters. Justin Herbert hasn't done anything when it matters. Period.
And yeah, and so like when it comes to this game, dude, I don't really like talking about the Chargers because I praise them and they're gonna suck. I talk about how much they suck and they'll play well. Like either way, they just frustrate me. And I think the Ravens, the rate at which they've been dismantling teams
Yep.
is unbelievable. And that game last week against the Browns, listen, the Browns, they're another team that have a Super Bowl contending defense, and their offense has just that organization has put their offense in this awful spot.
Hey, you know what? That's a really good segue. I think we agree about. I think we agree about the Ravens and the Chargers. But you
mhm.
just talk about a team with a Super Bowl contending defense, whose organization has put their offense in a terrible spot. Segues pretty nicely into Chiefs versus Raiders, because that's a situation that the Chiefs find themselves in. Somehow, with Andy
Mm,
Reid as head coach and Patrick Mahomes as their quarterback, they are a team with a Super Bowl contending defense and an offense that just cannot get it done because of decisions that were made by the front office.
yeah.
That said, Raiders are getting 9.5 against the Chiefs, who just lost. We talked about it off camera. We off mic, whatever. Who just lost that game to the Eagles last week? Won in every facet of the game except for the crucial
Yeah.
catching of the ball.
Oh my god.
Uh, the Raiders are in trouble. This is going to be you know what? The Raiders, they fired Josh McDaniels. The players had their Super Bowl party after that. They had a little bit of good vibes coming out of that. They won a couple of games. They lost last week. I think
I'll
they
tell
might
you
have
what
deserved a
though,
better
man.
fate.
They gave the Dolphins fits last
They
week
might
though.
have deserved a better fate against the
Yeah, man.
Dolphins.
They gave the
But
Dolphins fits
I
last week.
not unlike the Commanders Cowboys game today. I don't know how high you would have to put that line for me to take the Raiders. The Chiefs are going to rule them. I would expect that will
Yeah.
not help them in the playoffs. We've talked about this before. I mean, until the Chiefs show me that they can't get it done when it matters, when the bright lights are, or when the lights are the brightest, I will continue to roll with an Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes team. especially with this defense, was my thought process. That game against the
Listen,
Eagles really did change my opinion about the Chiefs this year. I do not think that they're the best team in the AFC anymore.
mm,
I
I
think
just
I think
think
they're plenty good enough to destroy the Raiders this week,
are
but I don't love it.
but the thing is though, man, is like destroy them.
Yep.
'Cause, like, to me, dude, like the Raiders, their defense, like Max Crosby, dude, like Max Crosby reminds me of like Mike Trout, or like a player who's just so good on a completely inept franchise that's just
Yeah.
wasting away. And to me, that defense can cause problems. And the Chiefs, like, listen, dude, like, I love Travis Kelsey. I think he can probably turn it on like that and just go. But we have not seen Travis
We have
Kelsey
not seen that yet this
be
year.
Travis Kelsey this year. And what happened on Monday night goes full circle to what happened uh the first game of the year against Detroit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But
They should have won
more
that
so,
game,
with a
but they
louder echo.
dropped
Yeah.
100%. And so for me, I'll probably put the Chiefs money line in a parlay to like beef up, the juice a little bit. I'm not gonna say they're gonna lose the game, but you're not gonna catch me um bet minus 9.5, and you're not gonna catch me bet plus 9.5. I I
Here's my
I,
here's my
I really
here's
don't know.
my here's my rationale on both sides of the ball. Uh the Chiefs have an excellent secondary, a ball hawking secondary.
Oh, they have a
The Raiders, the
phenomenal.
Raiders have the
Yeah.
Raiders have a rookie quarterback. The Chiefs stop the run pretty well. The Raiders have the artist formerly known as Josh Jacobs,
Yep.
who's garbage now. He's just, I don't know. Missing training camp is terrible for running backs. It just shouldn't. It just never works out.
I also think being on the Raiders sucks, dude.
Well, I think so
Like,
too. I think it
I,
sucks a lot less now that Josh McDaniels isn't their coach, but I think that it does suck. On the
yeah,
other side of the ball,
but
the Raiders
you still
cannot
got
stop the
Lloyd
run,
Christmas. You
and
got Lloyd
Andy
Christmas
Reid.
as your owner, right? Like I think that I think that that whole operation's a
If
disaster.
if you've got Isaiah Pacheco in fantasy, or I don't know what the line is on him on FanDuel, take the over. Start him in fantasy. I think that you're going to see the Chiefs. Andy Reid's a good guy coach. He's a player's coach. Everybody knows that. He's also an offensive guy. When things aren't going right, he's known as obviously as a passing game innovator.
66.5 is the
Yeah,
over.
hammer that over, I think. Yeah, I think this is going to be a bit of a bit of a bloodbath, a bit
Mm.
of a show. Um, there are going to be players who are going to. One thing about not having wide receivers who are established NFL level wide receivers is that none of them is guaranteed a job next week. People are going to be catching the ball, I think, at this point. They're going to be running their rights precisely. They're going to be remembering what they're doing. They're going to be focused. The only guys who are guaranteed jobs on that team are not the problems. So I do foresee this being that team just lost a game that they should have won to the team that they beat in the Super Bowl in what was a close and arguably controversial Super Bowl. They wanted that one, right? The principals wanted that one. Andy Reid wanted that one. Not only did they play, that's his old team. Patty Mahomes wanted that one. The Kelsey brothers both wanted that one. The principals of that team wanted that game, and it was given away by a lot of guys who, I mean, Marquez Valdez-Scantling was not re-signed by the Chiefs. He just traded back to them. There was a lot of their entire receiving core, right? Aside from
But you know what though,
um,
Tom? Like,
Kadarius Toney weren't there last year.
yeah, I mean Tony was there for the playoff run, but
He
I
was
mean
there for the playoff run.
I I just think, like, don't forget, man, Travis Kelsey had a key drop.
He
in
did.
the game, right?
Yeah,
Also, when he got the ball punched out,
not
like
good.
that doesn't happen to him, right?
Not a him
I
thing.
just
Nope.
think it's not that like I think what you're saying is right in theory. We've seen this from them all year
Yep.
to where it's like, okay, like when do we get to the point where this is just what they are? I have no doubt that by the time the playoffs come, they will get on a run and they'll make it to at
See,
least conference
that's
championship.
where I have no doubt that they'll have a
I don't know.
pushback game this week against a weak opponent. I have no doubt that they'll have a pushback game this week against a weak opponent. I have no doubt that
Yeah.
Andy Reid is going to be running the ball down the throats of a team that is not equipped to stop the run. I have no doubt that the offensive line, especially, is going to be amped up for this one. I have
Yeah.
no doubt, and Isaiah Pacheco always runs angry. I
Oh
love
yeah.
watching
No,
that guy
he's
run.
great.
Love that guy.
I just think I
I
mean,
I
listen,
do have
yeah.
doubts that by the playoffs that they're going to be any better than they are. I think that after the thing about the playoffs is after a bad loss, you don't get to come back next week and execute better. I think
Yeah.
they do this week, and also in the playoffs, you don't get to play against the Raiders. They I think they win this week. I think they win big. I do not foresee them making the AFC Championship game unless something dramatic happens. I'm a little bit out on the Chiefs this year. They need to reassess. I think, yeah, the way you described. No, it's not the same thing as the Deshaun Watson situation.
No,
But a
no.
team with a
I
championship level defense that their front office has left the offense hang out to dry. It's not the same as the Zach Wilson starting for the Jets. The problem's not the quarterback. The problem's not the coach. The problem's
Oh
not.
no, dude, that ball that he
The
threw
problem
was
is that they have
incredible.
nobody to catch the ball.
I just think like
Unreal.
yeah, we can talk about the Eagles game, but I mean the like we talk about the Broncos game. Like it's not like we're just
Broncos
talking
game was
one
hideous.
game, right?
Hideous.
So it was the
The
worst
you
game
know
I've
they
ever seen them play.
why don't we talk about the Dolphins game? They won. Shouldn't have. Same
Yeah.
things. Same things.
Yeah,
They haven't scored in the second half, and
being
I
in
don't know.
London's weird. Those
Yeah,
games always trip me out, but no, I will take the Chiefs on the money line in a parlay. Because if I just look at it, they're minus 430 on the money line. So I won't be betting that straight up, but um, I will absolutely throw that in a money line parlay for sure. But I just can't trust them. And right as of right now, they're minus 8.5, which makes me feel a little bit better. But all right, let's move on. What's another game that you have your eye on?
last the last game of any consequence.
Talk to
Saving the
me.
best for last.
Talk to me.
We got the Bills. We got the Eagles. We've got
Mm-hmm.
storylines on both sides.
Big
We've
time.
got uh you. If we had looked at this game before the season started, I don't know that we would have thought that the Eagles would be at exactly their record. I know we wouldn't have thought that the Bills were. We would have thought within a game or two, right? But we wouldn't have thought it. I didn't have them as a one loss team at this point, which is no diss to them at all. But
Yeah.
that's just a shockingly low number of losses they've had. They're through. They're pretty much through. They have only 2 games left on their hell part of their schedule, right? Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Well,
Bills
like real
down an
quickly.
offensive coordinator are on the fringe of the playoffs. Would not have had that, right? This could be these are explosive teams. These are both teams with uh shall we say spotty secondaries. Occasionally erratic line play defensively. Uh teams that can put up points but don't necessarily always put them up at the right time. For the Eagles, that's been working out every week. The Eagles are having the same season as my fantasy team is having. Their bad weeks are somebody else's worst week. And I'll tell you what, it is nice to feel like Nick Sirianni. I don't even have to give
Are you
speeches at
gonna
halftime.
start
But
like yelling
but
at me for like being a weirdo? It's really funny, dude. Like as a Philly fan, I follow a lot of Philly people. whether they're in the media or just like Philly fans
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
Twitter. And dude, it is so funny seeing the mixed reaction to his outrageous antics, whether it's screaming in the tunnel at the Chiefs fans or on the sidelines, and you got his ankles showing and he's running up and down screaming. Like, it's so funny, dude. The one thing that I will say to you though is that I I looked at the schedule at the beginning of the year, and it doesn't surprise me that they have like one loss. Maybe I would have thought, throw one more in there. Maybe
You
it
got to think one
surprises
more,
me
maybe
that
two.
it surprises me more than only losing once. It surprises me more that one loss was to the Jets. Like
Yeah.
that surprises
Well,
me more.
if
Um,
if you do, I mean, does it? Because before the season, when you looked at that, Aaron Rodgers was going to be the quarterback in that game. So maybe that one is not as surprising before the season.
Not before the
Being
season.
that being
No.
being the team that lost to Zach Wilson. Wow. But
Yeah, it's tough.
and beat everybody else and beat everybody else.
Well, and
There's something weird.
the
It's
difference
secret sauce. It's secret sauce.
the difference in that game than every other game for the Eagles this year that they have won, obviously, is that they found a way to win despite themselves. And Jalen Hurts, not since that playoff game against Tampa Bay a couple years ago, Jalen Hurts has never pulled a move like he did in that Jets game where he threw that
Horrible,
interception
horrible
where he did
interception.
not need to. He didn't
Shockingly
need
out
to.
of it was a terrible play. It was so out of character for him.
So out of character. And that offense for the Jets, they were doing nothing all game. If you punted the ball back to the Jets, you would have got the ball back. Like, you didn't need to do that, right? So that was the difference, is that he just tried to do too much. And you don't ever see that from him. Who you do see that from is Josh Allen.
Yeah,
And my biggest
higher
concern
ceiling,
from
lower floor, right? Although
my
I don't
yeah,
know that it's that much of a higher ceiling at this
I
point.
don't know. I mean, listen, man, my big concern from the Bills' perspective is, first of all, and I've said this a lot, I picked the Bills to miss the playoffs at the beginning of the year. However, their defense, like, they're all in the hospital, dude.
It's
Like,
injuries.
that
Yeah.
defense is not the defense that we remember them. Like,
Uh,
even
yeah.
if Josh Allen was playing at this crazy high level, eventually those defense were going to get
Josh Allen hasn't been at a crazy high level in a year and a half.
no.
Almost 2
And,
years.
and the problem is that in this game, and listen, you can look at like different stats and you can compare like defensive stats for the Eagles from last year to this year, and you can argue that their defense was better last year. But if you watch these games, their defense is better this year. It just is. Like,
Nobody's
watch
punishing them downfield. The weakness is obvious. They're scheming around it
in the
quite
middle.
clearly,
Yeah,
effectively, and
100%.
other teams. I think I don't. We'll see at some point, maybe, or maybe it won't. I mean, they are really good, right? I mean, the weaknesses are relative.
They're so
What
talented,
we consider
dude.
a weakness on their
Yeah.
team is relative to the strengths of the other parts of the defense and the strengths of the other parts of the team. The Tampa Bay
Yeah.
Buccaneers would love to have the middle of would love to have their secondary. You know what I mean? These are
The
just things.
Eagles are just so talented that when
Yeah.
like push comes to shove, they can just buckle down and get
It's
the
a
job
preposterous
done.
roster. The roster is so talented
It's unreal.
and
I
so
guess the
young.
concern that I have from the Bills standpoint is like, you as Josh Allen, you're going to have to come from behind in this game. And are you going to let the game come to you, or are you going to try to be a superhero? And
And
we all
that is the superpower of this iteration of the Eagles, because clock management is so important in the NFL. And these Eagles, all of these wins, well, it's close. They're kind of lucky. No. They do one thing. The Sirianni coached Eagles have managed the clock as well or better than any team I remember in the last 10. I don't know
This
how
isn't
long.
luck
They're
anymore.
extremely, no, it's not luck. No,
Mm-mm.
this is I mean, you know what? When you get a quarterback like Jalen Hurts in the second round and he develops as much as he did, that there is some luck involved in that. But in terms of how they use him, there's no luck in that, right? If anybody knew that he was going to be this good, he would have been 1-1.
Yeah. My point with the statement, it's not luck. More is
No, their
about
game planning is incredible.
people are
They
like
keep their
talking
defense
about,
rested.
yeah, dude, and like people keep talking about how like
Kellen Moore.
they aren't like playing their best football and they're getting lucky with these wins and
I
these
don't. It's not
early,
lucky. They're just eking out wins. It's not luck.
dude, they're
There's some
finding
luck,
ways
but
to
it's
win,
not luck.
man. They're
Yeah.
finding ways to win. That game on Monday night was so impressive to me because like I was so frustrated watching that game. Like they're throwing screen passes to Julio Jones and it's
Yeah.
like what are you guys doing? Like I was getting so frustrated by these play calls. I was watching it uh uh with my father-in-law and we're both just like what are these guys doing? And it just looked weird. It didn't look smooth at all. It did not look good. But guess what? The defense shut out the Chiefs in the second half, and the offense found a way to get it done.
Yeah.
And
It
to
was
me,
ugly, and the W counts.
100%. Now, what I'm super interested in is two things. I guess it's actually kind of one thing, but I'll say two things. Number one, what are they going to do against the 49ers? Because this 49ers team is built to play with a lead. If they have a lead, dude, it's going to be hard. I don't care how good the Eagles are at like finding ways to win.
Yeah.
If you let the 49ers get ahead by 10 points, that's going to be really really hard to come back from.
You're
Secondly,
very close to this. I honestly think that a Niners Eagles game. I don't know what that's going to be. I don't know what the odds are going to be at that point. Obviously they haven't been posted,
I bet you I can find them, but
but that's without
really
all the data
quickly
from this
though,
week.
to
I
finish
think
my
the
point
Eagles win
is,
that.
yeah, I do too, but just to finish my point, number two is I'm I just hope that, and I don't think this is how the Eagles operate. This is not what we've seen from Jalen Hurts. I don't think this will be a problem, but the Eagles better not be thinking what I just said about the 49ers game. Because you got to beat this game first. You got to win this game first. The Bills
Yeah,
are a wounded animal right now. You just
yeah,
got to take care of them, win, and move on. Say your point, and I'll find these odds for the.
yeah. I think the Eagles are just so well rounded, and we talked about this a little bit with the Cowboys and how like they've showed some maturity as a team, just not letting small moments seem small by treating it that way. The Eagles play with a lot of maturity all the time. They treat every
Yes.
moment like it's the same. That's I mean that's definitely good coaching, right? But it's also just they have we know they have good leaders on that team too. Of all the quarterbacks in the league, I mean, outside of Mahomes, who's obviously a tier unto himself, the the most trustworthy quarterback I think in the league, maybe not the second best overall, but the most trustworthy quarterback in the league is Jalen Hurts. If something's not working in a given game or in a given quarter or even in a given series, uh, possession, right? He moves on to the next. He moves
Mm-hmm.
on to the next. He just slides so seamlessly between things. There's no frustration. There's no nothing. And I mean, everybody feeds off that. I as a fan of teams that do not have that guy, I'm in awe of that. He's just an excellent quarterback. He's got the highest floor. A bad Jalen Hurts game, even that Jets game was not a disaster. Uh,
Until
it
the
was
end.
it was the worst. It was the worst game that he's had maybe ever, and it wasn't that bad. It was he's I don't know. He's special. He's there's only one of him. We have a few quarterbacks in the league like that right now. That list, that ultra elite list, is shrinking. I don't know that I'd keep Josh Allen in it anymore. It's been so long since he's been accurate. He was never particularly accurate, but he's just been so erratic. I know his elbow. He probably needed Tommy John surgery, and they told him it was going to take. That's what I always think, right? When a quarterback, when they just lose something, their elbow, and we know that he had an elbow injury.
It
If his
just
elbow is that bad that he needs to have that kind of surgery, like a baseball pitcher surgery, that means he's going to be out for an entire season, maybe a season and a half. For a football player, that's a massive deal, a much bigger deal than it is for a baseball pitcher, because you don't have as many years if you're a quarterback in the Josh Allen mold. We're not talking about we're not talking about a system quarterback. We're talking about a big meaty guy
for sure.
who derives a lot of value from smashing people. He's losing 18 months of being a de facto the best running back on the team as well, right? You wonder about that, but I just don't think Josh Allen has it anymore. That said, this week the Eagles have been. It just feels like they're running on fumes a little bit. I'm. It's the Eagles are -3. I think they probably still win this. I wish it was 3.5, but
Yeah,
I'd probably take the Bills in this one.
it it's interesting to me a couple things that you said. First of all, talking about like hurts and decision making and within a game, something that we as Eagles fans and like beat writers and everything, like the one thing that we were really curious to see with uh Shane Steichen leaving and going to the Colts was Shane Steichen over the last couple of years, especially last year, obviously, was really, really good at changing game plans mid game, mid quarter, mid drive. Like he was really good at seeing very quickly this is not working, so we're going to do something else. And early in the season, Johnson, Brian Johnson, I believe, he was not good at that, and he has become very good at that. And so that's something that I have a lot of faith in
That's
now.
that's that's him and hers developing trust in each other,
A
right?
100%, 100%.
I'd
Now,
give I'd give Hertz all of the credit for Steak and for Jones, right?
well,
If your quarterback, if look, if your quarterback's Jimmy Garoppolo, that ain't happening. If your quarterback's Russell Wilson, you can't even change season to
agreed
season,
with
let
you.
alone
I would
game to
just
game,
say
let alone half to half, let alone possession to possession, let alone within a possession. That's never going to happen, right?
agreed with you. I would just say before Anthony Richardson went down for the whole season, we were seeing that from him
I
as
agree,
well,
and I'm excited
right?
about Anthony Richardson in the future.
Yeah.
He's gonna be fun.
And as far
He
as
already was fun.
oh yeah, tons. As far as the Josh Allen thing, I just think I don't think he's done. He's still relatively young. I don't think that he's necessarily not what he was. I just I don't know, man. There's just something about that Chiefs playoff game a couple years ago where he just seems to be always chasing that moment.
Right?
He's
Okay.
just
I'm glad you brought
always
this up. I'm glad you brought this up.
he's just always shooting for the moon. And it's like, dude, like you don't have to do that. Like
Yeah.
you have talented players around you.
It's like he regressed all the
You
way
can take
back.
the time.
He regressed all the way back mentally. His mental game regressed all the way back to when he was a young quarterback who tried way too hard, right? He just became
100%,
Daniel
man.
Jones again all of a sudden. And
It's
it's just
and
it's
like
a
just
bummer because
yeah,
much like the Lions, who we talked about, much like the Browns, like we talked about, much like a lot of these teams, the league is more fun. I know I go back to this all the time, but the league's more fun when Buffalo's relevant. I don't like a moribund Bills franchise. That's boring.
Yeah, and like
Keep Carolina down. You know,
the league
there's
is so
teams that we
much
don't care about.
the
The
league's so
entire
much more fun when the Tennessee Titans are.
yeah, no,
I would
it
just
is
say
not. Nobody cares about the Tennessee Titans. I like Mike Vrabel, but I don't care about that. Like
no, I'm
these
just yeah,
multiple shades of blue on a generally warm and
I'm
bland
begging you,
looking
man.
field. Get out
I'm
of here.
begging you. I'm begging you. I'm just joking. Don't suck me into a Tennessee Titans talk. I can't.
Yeah,
I don't want to do
no,
it.
no.
Shilkapadia and Ben Solak talk about this on the Ringer as well. That uh every play of Josh Allen is the seconds ticking down of the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Or it's just, and we're seeing that over and over and over
He's
again.
so self-critical in all of his comments that we see, and
And
it
that,
doesn't look like, and it's not corn butt stuff. It's not like
no,
Russell Wilson was like, well, no, he like
that's
I
right.
genuinely think he's very upset.
I'm
Uh
glad that you brought this up because at the his press conferences, dude, the guy looks like he wants to kill himself.
yeah, yeah.
The,
I
the,
don't even think he likes winning. I
the
think I like
defense,
I think he's just so sad.
dude, at
I'm
the end
worried
of
about him.
games, at the end of these games, it's just super self-deprecating and
Yep.
just super like I'm not. But I honestly, I I feel like I'm pretty objective for the most part. I try to be. I can't be 100% not biased when it comes to the Eagles, but I don't think the Bills with the defense that they have compared to the defense that they had, I don't think the Bills have a chance. And the
I don't
reason
think they have
I
a
don't,
chance.
man, like the
You sounded
reason
very Denzel Washington there.
the
I
re-
don't think they have
he's my
a
favorite,
chance.
man.
You
He
ran
can
out.
he,
I wish you had more time.
he could do
Man on fire.
a movie about the like invention of toilet paper, and it would be my favorite movie of the year. Like I
It would
just
be
love
amazing.
Denzel so much.
Yeah.
But the thing is like that Chiefs game. What concerned me about the Chiefs game and why I did not pick this game against the spread was because I I really felt that the Eagles' biggest weakness is the middle of their defense, right? Like that's the biggest
Allegedly, we've been saying this all year, but when is it going to come
but
back to hurt
dude,
them?
if you look at the stats and I don't have them right in front of me, I
Yeah.
apologize. They've been giving yards to tight ends like crazy. Like
Yeah.
tight ends have been like killing this Eagles team in the middle of the field all
You
year.
know,
And
if you're
it
going to
didn't
get beat by
happen against,
anybody, get beat by tight ends, I think is the.
I'm just saying, man, it didn't happen against Travis Kelsey. And you got Kincaid. Am I remembering right that Knox is out for the year? Am I remembering that correctly?
I, I'm not sure.
I might be wrong on that.
I
Um,
don't remember seeing that, but yeah, you might be right.
but so like that does concern me a
Kincaid's good.
bit. Oh yeah, 100%. I just it concerned me more on Monday because I trust Patrick Mahomes' decision making much more than Josh Allen. I
His
really
decision making is fantastic. It's very easy to make good decisions when you're Patrick Mahomes, because like you at any given moment you could be like, oh, I'll just throw a perfect fucking, pardon me, I'll just throw a perfect rainbow into where the hands should be of my receiver. I'll just make the impossible possible. Oh, and then this guy will alligator arm it or like get it stuck in his mask or it painful to watch. The highlights that we don't get to see because the
yeah.
highlights that we have to see are of drops. Oh god! And every time Travis Kelsey drops a ball, another Taylor Swift tweet storm happens. Some like just a bunch of people have more Taylor Swift
Dude, It's been really fun for me. So I know a lot of people are so sick and tired of this Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce talk, and
Right.
that's fine. I understand. I feel like you might be one of them. I am not one of them. I don't really care. I love it. I don't know if I call myself a Swifty, but I'm a musician. I've played music for most of my life. I think she's a phenomenal artist. I like her music. 1989 is a terrific album, and I'm not too scared to say it. I don't know if I call myself
I'll go
50
with you on that.
necessarily. Yeah,
It is
to
not my jam. It's not the kind of music that I like, but I have nothing but respect. When Taylor Swift comes on somewhere, I'm not. I don't. I'm not upset about it.
what's
It
really funny is if you go on Twitter, dude, and just type Travis Kelce, reading the love that these Swifties have, and you know how like they'll like like whether it's the Jonas Brothers back in the day or Taylor Swift or whoever, they'll change their handles to like something to do with that artist, right?
right. Yeah.
You get
Like the Beehive. Yeah.
like at like uh Kelsey Taylor forever, like 94 or like
And then
whatever.
46 butterfly and heart emojis,
Dude, it
etc.
is so funny to see like these Swifties with like reaction to like how he looks at up in the up in the press box for her, and it's so funny, dude.
Yeah.
I I got time.
Meanwhile, he's facing any direction, but
What
as long as
what
it's up,
bothers
he must
me
be looking for Taylor.
what
Yeah.
bothers me more is that you're betting on like the FanDuel, and I love me some FanDuel, but they have like the you know how she changed the lyrics to like uh karma is the guy on the Chiefs or whatever. And so
I
FanDuel
did not know that. Tell me
yeah,
more,
look
Mark.
it up. I won't get into it. Look
I'm
it
not
up.
going to look that up.
So FanDuel has a special that's literally called Karma is the guy on the Chiefs, and it's a Chiefs win the Super Bowl, Taylor wins a Grammy parlay. It's like plus 680 or something like that. And it's like that
I mean,
gets under my skin more than people talking about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. I'll tell you what, though.
the only thing that bugs me about it, and it does bug me about it. I don't care about the rest of that. They when they always, I'm good at looking away. They show stuff on there, and I don't care. Like when they show stuff I don't care about, I don't care. I look away.
Sure.
Uh, the thing that bugs me is the take economy. Anytime Travis Kelce has a bad game, it's immediately Taylor Swift's fault. And why is he going here? Why is he hanging out with these people? Why is he? Man, come on. If he was in whatever Monaco or wherever the hell he was. By the way, I think he was there for like to because he's an investor with Alpine and the F1 team, and Patrick Mahomes was there too. But if he was there with some person nobody ever knew, some mousy looking lady from Iowa, who nobody had ever heard their name and never will again, nobody would ever talk about it. But because it's with another
Yeah.
famous person, people like start giving them a hard time.
Listen,
All of those guys on their bye weeks go somewhere they have enough money. I would go
I'm
to
just saying,
cool places.
bro, I
It's the take
agree with
economy.
you.
No,
I
no.
agree with you for the first time, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the thing is when you're Travis Kelce and the receiving core for the Chiefs is what it is. When you're
He should spend his entire bye week applying multiple layers of stickum to every
when
guy on his team's
when
hands,
you're
just like covering
I'm
their
just
hands.
saying, dude, when you're in Argentina and then have a game like you did on Monday night, like yes, he got a touchdown, but bro, he wasn't good Monday.
No, it wasn't
It's
good.
just not a good look. Like
No.
I'm not blaming
The
him
only
going
reason it's
to
not a good
Argentina
look
with his
is because
girlfriend.
people were talking about where he was before he got there.
It's
If nobody knew where he was,
yeah,
if
but
he was at
dude,
like Lake of the Woods in Manitoba
you're one of the best tight ends of
with
all time, man.
with
Like
an
that,
with
that's
some like some mousy woman from Iowa, you
listen,
know?
bro. I'm happy for him, man. Live your life. If you get to
Yeah,
go
man.
to, on like tour to Argentina, friggin' awesome. But
But
just
catch the ball.
be aware when you drop a pass and get a ball punched out and you guys get shut out in the second half, it's going to be talked
Again.
It's just that's just is what it is. But hey, basically what we decided is the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl. I like where this is going. Tom, thank you for joining me, man. I really
Yeah, man.
appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun.
Good times, my friend.
Wi-Fi falling out and all. Next week, or in the weeks to follow, anyway, I haven't really even asked you, but we are gonna come back and do an NBA episode. Full disclosure, since I started talking about the NHL with Fantasy Sports Heroics, I've been a little bit out on the NBA, so I do want to talk to you about that. I do want to pick your brain on the National Basketball Association.
We'll catch up. Maybe we'll do some check in with the Canadian players in the league, and then some major storylines, something like that. We can do that anytime. Yeah,
100%. I want your thoughts on this new in-tournament or in-season tournament, how awful the courts look, all that stuff. Speaking about how awful the courts look, by the way, and this is just about how awful something looks. Those Seattle uniforms, they need, like, why are they still wearing those things, man? Those were awful tonight. They're brutal. They're so bad. Like, I'm not a fashion like
correct me if I'm wrong, but the Seattle Seahawks are still owned by a dead man, right? Paul Allen, right? Am I
so.
not?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Yeah.
So I don't know, but I assume that whatever company owns highlighters signed some kind of an agreement.
Yeah.
And he can't back out of it now because he's dead. That's the only plausible explanation I can come up with.
That's so funny. Well, bro, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for joining me.
All right, buddy.
Everybody else, get at me at Sport Addict Mark on Twitter. You can find me Monday to Friday on Fantasy Sports Heroics. That's at FS Heroics. Don't check us out just for the hockey, though. They're talking everything: basketball, football, college football, which is, you will never hear anything about.
What about skeleton
on this show? Pardon me?
Skeleton. Do they talk about skeleton?
No skeleton. But
skeleton is when, like, people go on sleds.
I'm aware what skeleton
downhill face first.
I don't think that they talk about it, but they are looking for people to talk about cricket.
Skeleton?
They're trying to get into everything except for skeleton. I think that's intentional.
This skeleton hate.
Spotify, YouTube, like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. We will see you next time. Get hooked.
It's all part of the game.